afternoon, I bet you all. So, my name is Aida, and I will be your moderator for today. So, this session is about the kleptocracy. Alright, so as the meaning of kleptocracy is a Greek word which carry the meaning of rule by thieves. Kleptocracy is a term applied to a government seen as having a particularly severe and systemic problem with officials or a ruling class which collectively taking advantage of corruptions to expand their personal wealth or political power. So here with us today, we have two respected speakers, which are Dato Akhbar and Ms. Cynthia Gabriel from Center to Combat Corruptions and Cronyism C4. So before I begin, I would like to introduce our respected speakers. Alright, so I begin with Dato Akhbar. Dato Akhbar bin Satar. He's the founder and president of the Associations of Certified Fraud Examiners, ACFE, Malaysia chapters. So ACFE is an Austin, Texas-based world's largest anti-fraud organizations and premier provider of anti-fraud, anti-corruption training and education with more than 70,000 members worldwide. Not only that, Dato Akhbar is the president of Transparency International Malaysia, the accredited national chapter of the Berlin-based Transparency International, which is an independent, non-governmental and non-partisan organizations committed to fight against corruptions at all levels of society. Alright, and now we have Ms. Cynthia Gabriel, Center to Combat Corruptions and Cronyism, C4. She was recognized as a key human rights advocate in Malaysia. She spent a lot of her time in the field of advancing and promoting human rights, good governance, and democratic freedoms. Ms. Cynthia has also worked on UN contractual research work in the area of migrant and refugee research and their vulnerabilities towards HIV and AIDS. With that, she was elected as Vice President of the Global Advocacy Group, the Paris-based International Federations for Human Rights 2004 until 2009. And now she set up a policy center called the Center to Combat Corruptions and Cronyism C4. So before we begin, I would like to introduce the format for today. So we will have 3 slots. So the first slots will be the speakers will introduce and give opinions about this topic about around 7 minutes, and then we have second slots. We will take the questions from the audience, and we have another slots also the questions from the audience. So without further ado, let's begin with Dato Akhbar.
Okay. Kleptocracy. Klepto means thief. Cracy rule by thief. And the criteria to see this kleptocracy, number 1. All the contracts given to crony. Number 1. Right. So it is quite relevant. Number 2, all the senior government posts given to crony and relatives. And thirdly, the money has been funneled from a treasury to develop a project which is not viable to that community. These 3 criteria. So if you see these 3 criteria, you can suit that a country is a kleptocracy. Okay? You have to remember that crime only have, if you are criminologist, right? Crime is caused only by 2 factors. It is called nature versus nature, or genetic versus environmental. But for hardcore criminal, for those who kill people, the mafia, normally they have some genetic factor. There are so many studies. But for fraud and corruption, it got nothing to do with genetic. It is learned. Crime is learned. If you know about differential association theory or social bond theory, it's stated that crime is learned, meaning to say that you learn to commit a crime. Somebody who commit fraud and corruption, they learn. I give one good example. Today, in the morning, I was supposed to receive a phone call from a friend. He was supposed to, to ask back money which I owed him. But after I waited for a few hours, it's not me, right? I tell the camera. After I waited for 20 minutes, there was no call. Then I went to make some coffee. But suddenly the phone rang. But at the phone, my son was the one who picked up the phone. But since my relationship with my son is very, very good, therefore whatever I say, whatever I give a signal, he will follow me. So I just put my hand like that. But then he will answer the phone by saying that, I'm sorry uncle, my father is not at home. But a good son will say, I'm sorry father, my father asked me to tell you that he's not at home. Correct. But the important issue here is that I am teaching my son to lie. Correct. So whenever he is in school, when he got problem, he will lie to his friend. When he become a teacher, he will lie to the headmaster. When he become headmaster, he will lie to the director of education. When he become director of education, he lie to the director general. When he become director general, he may lie to the minister. When he become minister, he will lie to the prime minister. When he become prime minister, he will lie to the public. Correct. So crime is learned. So this is very important. According to the Corruption Perception Index 2015, first time in history, I think we fell to number 54. We fell 4 points. So meaning to say that last 2 years we got number 50 out of 175 countries, but this year we got about 50 out of 168 countries. So we dropped 4 steps. But that also was quite lucky because 6 countries were not included in the list because there were not enough secondary sources. To be eligible, to be calculated in the index, you must have at least 3 secondary sources. So about 6 nations was not in the list. If not, we fell to number 60. So it's that bad. According to Malaysian Corruption Barometer 2014, which is conducted by TI Malaysia, right, found that the most corrupted institution is the political party, number 1. So we have conducted previous for more than 5 or 6 years. So normally police were top the list. But last year, in 2004, the political party topped the list. Number 2 police, number 3 civil servant. So looking at civil servant at the moment, we know that, right? If you read Star today, it seems that out of $1 money that federal government gave to the water department in Sabah, 60 cents has been pocketed. That means only 40 cents has been used for the public. So we have this kind of problem. Meaning to say, Malaysia right now is facing integrity crisis, not only among the politicians, but also among the civil servant. So in order to rectify this problem, we have to rectify the integrity problem. I agree that sometimes we have to strengthen our internal control policy because according to Association of Certified Fraud Examiner, which is I'm also the president for Malaysia chapter, 5% for the 2016 census, right? 5% of the revenue is lost because of corruption in a country or in an organization. So meaning to say, if you strengthen your internal control policy, at least you can save 2 or 3%. But again, to avoid losing money, because it is quite expensive, to to introduce new system, new technology. But to avoid to save money, the best is we have to look at our root cause. The root cause is the integrity crisis. If you can rectify the integrity crisis, therefore everything will be okay. That's why it is called tone at the top. When you are a leader, you have no integrity, you are corrupted, therefore the subject will be corrupted. This is quite simple, right? This is called rationalization. If you know about fraud theory, there are 3 factors, right? Opportunity, pressure by the one, right? The other one is rationalization. Rationalization is what? Meaning to say that I can involve corruption. I take 50 or I take 150,000. I swindle 150 million because somebody else swindle more than that. Right? It is my right. I have the, in fact, what they rationalize is that if I used to go to office from 8, then and every day, almost every day, I get back about 9 o'clock. But my boss will normally come to the office at 11 and go back 3, play golf. Right? So I deserve it. This is called rationalization. Condemn the condemner. You know, they condemn the condemner. That's why being a boss, being what you call a head of department, you have to show good example. Being a leader in a country, you have to show good example. As a politician, you enact the law. You invent the law. You can't break the law, correct? It is very unethical. If you break the law, what happened to the other people? What happened to the public? They will follow, right? That's why the crime is learned. We are learning from somebody. Thank you.
Okay, good evening everyone. I hope you're still awake. Yes? Okay, good. I just have a couple of things to add to Dato Akhbar and a few slides, just 3 slides, which I think is enough to tell you the state of where we are in, how difficult the situation is and what we need to do. Now this is also something that I wanted to thank the FNF Alumni Network for inviting me. Thank you very much. Partly because the people I'm speaking to are all very young people. The country belongs to you, the generation, the next generation. You have to repair everything that's gone wrong now. So I think the problems today are so overwhelming. I think the next generation will really have to take it on. And I'm really glad that all of you, I just attended the last session just now, you were also so good in your questions and so sharp, so well put out your analysis and all that. So I'm sure you can defeat the 2.6 billion, you can defeat Najib, you can defeat everything that's called kleptocracy and corruption in this country. Okay, my first slide is this. Can I have it? Next. Okay, who is this? Who is this? On the left, of course, you know this is our Prime Minister, Najib.
Mugabe.
Shaking hands with who?
Mugabe.
Mugabe. He was in town yesterday. Okay? And he was in town. Now, most people remember Mugabe for 2 things. One is he's probably the world's most consistent kleptocrat. He is probably the world's most corrupt leader and also one of the biggest human rights violators of the African continent, of Zimbabwe, and so on. Now, we know he's been very friendly with Dr. Mahathir. They're best friends. Now, Dr. Mahathir is going to come for the final session. You can ask him what was the visit by Mugabe all about. But what was more worrying is the bilateral visit. So sudden, so surprising. So I just put it as kleptocrats unite. What were they really discussing? Were they exchanging notes? How to actually add another 2.6 billion into each other's bank account? Or were they actually talking about how to improve good governance? Your guess is as good as mine. But I put this picture, is actually just to let you know that this is what happens all around. Now we have governments, state leaders, heads of state actually coming together in this way. And many a time, the public, the general people have no clue what is being discussed, have no idea what is being discussed. Now, we hope they weren't discussing about a safe haven for each other. Like, oh, okay, in case the world is chasing after you, Interpol chase after you and all that, I give you a place to stay here. You give me a place in Zimbabwe to stay and so on. You never know what was happening. But this is really important because kleptocracy is really about grand larceny. It's grand corruption. That means rasuah yang besar sekali, it runs into billions of ringgit that it's so difficult to actually follow the money. So difficult to bring it back. So Dato Akhbar talked about contracts, about crony, patronage politics. These are all mechanisms to actually get you there. But once you become so big and so grand, it will be really very, very difficult to follow, to actually bring back the money. So how many of us know that there is now a case in the United States to actually recover stolen assets from money stolen via the 1MDB? Are you aware of it? Okay, one person's aware. Anyone else is aware? No, okay. So in brief, this is what happened. Now we know that 1MDB has been in the news for so long. And we also know that there's so many serious allegations against our Prime Minister for stealing public funds. Public funds, your money, my money, your parents' money. Now these are funds that are supposed to be responsibly managed by the government of the day. But when you hear that the leaders actually try to put it into their pocket, and not just 1,000 or 2,000 ringgit or 10,000 or 20,000, but this is really money that runs into millions and millions and now billions of ringgit. Billion is 9 zeros, so if you have a sense of mathematics, you know that 9 zeros are really huge amounts of money. And you probably never heard of a case in which 700 million went into a Prime Minister's personal bank account. But unfortunately, it did with Malaysia. And we went into the global news for all the wrong reasons. So it's been more than 1 year. This case has been going on. The fight on both sides has been going on. Of course, our Prime Minister denies any wrongdoing. He refused to step down. He's still there. But the point I'm trying to make is that kleptocracy, grand corruption, is usually corruption that goes across borders. It's corruption that isn't just confined to one country. So it's corruption that you find involves other countries. And it involves banks, it involves legal firms, it involves different stakeholders in all the different countries. So they found that some of the money that was stolen is actually parked, 3.5 billion was actually parked and went through banks in the United States. So there was condominiums in New York, in London, in California, all bought with our money. We even funded the movie called The Wolf on Wall Street. You know that, right? It was a very good movie featuring Leonardo DiCaprio and so on. So the story of 1MDB is not an isolated story. It is a story in which money is siphoned to do all kinds of things that are not meant to be. And so leaders like these need to be brought to account. Leaders like these need to answer for why they actually went all the way to do so many wrong things and to enrich themselves, should they still even remain in power in their respective countries. Next slide, please. Now, this is another slide that actually showed the kind of amount of money amounting to US 1.051 billion that actually went into the Prime Minister's account. The one that we always talk about is this one. The one, the 681 million from Tunnel Finance that went into the Prime Minister's bank account. But he had money from various other sources that also went in. And you find that the Saudi Arabia is a very primary country that's involved in actually sending money in and sending money out of our country. Now we need to ask the question as young people, how come money can go in and out so easily? Are our central banks supposed to be regulators or something like this? Were they doing their job? Or were they, as one of the institutions, also not allowed to actually carry out their task professionally? What is really going on? How come more than $1 billion could go into the private bank account of our Prime Minister? Are we ready to ask him to answer? I remember at some forum he said he has nothing to hide, but he actually went hiding because he got the forum cancelled. Many people were sacked as a process of trying to stop the investigations and so on. But remember this picture. This picture is something that says something's very wrong with our country. If we cannot get answers to why so much money went into his bank account, and then it went out of his bank account as well. How much money was used to buy the elections last year? Do we know all these things? No. So we as young people, even though the situation is very difficult, we need to keep asking. We need to keep getting answers. We need to keep getting him to be accountable, whether in Parliament, in the news, invite him to a forum. Maybe next year you can invite him to the forum. Dr. Mahathir's time is over already. He can tell us a lot of things that went wrong in the system, a lot of things that he himself was responsible for. But you may push for Najib to actually answer these questions. If he cannot answer, then we know that he's not ready to be accountable. If he's not ready to be accountable, he's not ready to be a leader. Okay? Next slide. Now your question was, how do kleptocrats, I know I'm past my 7 minutes, but how do kleptocrats stay on top? How do they get there? They stay on top because they need to stay on top. Because there's so many skeletons in the closet. Normally a corruption scandal doesn't just happen once and then after that they lead with good governance. It's never like that. It's usually one scandal after another after another. And normally you need to hide everything. You need to hide everything because you cannot afford to be found out. In this case, the Wall Street Journal blew the whistle on that. So the first thing they do is they destroy democratic systems. What are democratic systems? One of it would be our own parliament, for example. Our Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. Are they really independent? The Attorney General's chambers. Did they do their job in actually studying the papers that were submitted to them, whether they should prosecute the people involved in 1MDB or not? Are our systems alive? That's what we need to ask. Or are they dead? It's linked to the paralysis of our other institutions. Our media, for example. Is our media independent? Is our media able to write? You remember what happened to The Edge newspaper? They were the ones that also were writing a lot about the 1MDB. So The Edge was closed down, suspended for a couple of months, and they lost their business. It was so hard to come back, and it was really punishment because they were trying to report on the issues. The next thing, purge your critics and your dissenters. Charge them under the Sedition Act, question them, purge your critics. Deputy Prime Minister sacked, Attorney General sack, everybody, consolidate your control of your people, cheat in the elections, win the elections, and finally we get what we have today, a very disempowered lot of Malaysians. We are here because we're thinking Malaysians, we want to make a difference, but the people out there feel so devastated. Now they have to pay GST, harga barang sudah naik, cost of living has gone up, everything has become so difficult because we now have to pay for the kleptocrats that are running the country. Now everything I said may warrant another round of sedition investigations on me, but this is the case of where we are. We need to speak, we need to actually be able to ask questions, we need to be able to analyze, and the most important thing is we should never remain silent. Thank you.
We open the questions to the floor. Any questions? Okay. Since there's none questions, so perhaps maybe I can ask the questions first. Kleptocracy, is it because of the poor implementations of law, or is it because of the poor economic policies of Malaysia? What do you think?
You know, Malaysia has one of the best law in the world. But the problem is enforcement. See? We are coming out with all kinds of law, but no enforcement. It's no point, right? So the most important, make sure that you want to come up with new law, make sure that we have enough people to carry out the law, right? So this is a problem. So meaning to say that if the enforcement have integrity and the enforcement doing the job without fear and favor, therefore I think everything will be okay. But problem because our systems like this, therefore the law enforcement also, including MAGC, is not independent. It's not fully independent. We have been played out, you see. It is not independent. Who said independent? A few years ago, MAGC go around the world and told the whole world, saying that they are the most competent, most fully independent, which is wrong, right? But when your own officer has been transferred and investigation has been stopped, therefore you are nothing, you know. And you have to remember, you know, sometimes you got too much power, but you have no money, no point. That's why we are asking for financial autonomy. Meaning to say that every budget from the MAGC should come from the parliament, not from the treasury. You know, once the MAGC investigated against the official of the treasury, therefore they give you hard time, no? Before you go overseas, you have to get clearance, right? They can make your life miserable. So meaning to say, not only, you know, sometimes we cannot only talk that, okay, we ask for independence, but if they did not allocate enough money, you cannot do the job. Because for MAGC, they are different compared to the police. Police will call you to the office. The MAGC will go to you. They need money, you know, to go and record statement, to go and find you, to conduct forensic investigation. It needs a lot of money. But in order to sabotage the anti-corruption agency. Therefore, that is the only way. Cut the budget. You see, which is the most powerful anti-corruption agency in the world right now? It is Indonesia, KPK. You see, one of the best. They even got the Magsaysay Award in 2020 organization. They got 100% conviction, and they got a good public support. The public collected money, to build the building for the anti-corruption agency in Indonesia. So therefore, in Malaysia, I think we have no choice. Right? We have to tell our MBCC as well. We have to tell the government that this agency must be fully independent. Correct. Must be financially autonomous. Therefore, again, but the problem with Malaysia, you talk about separation of power. Correct. You must know that MBCC is only a data collector. Correct. What they can do is to investigate, but at the end of the day, that file have to be forward to the AG. Right? So meaning to say the most powerful person is the AG. Right. There are two issues here. Sometimes the MBCC stated that or recommended that there is a case against Mr. A. But the AG, maybe because they are professional and separation of power, maybe they are better because they have legal qualification. After they read the file, they found that there is no evidence. Fair. But there will be some occasion where there is evidence provided by MBCC, because MBCC also consisted of officers with legal background. Right? They are not stupid. Sometimes you say that you recommend that there is a case, but the AG go through the file, found that there is a case, but he say there is no case. Right? He can do that. But as far as we are concerned, between MBCC and God, it is okay. Right? But this guy, if he do that, he got to bear the consequences. If you believe in hereafter. Correct. This is very important. Correct. So meaning to say, you don't have to worry, right? People who are not honest, who do this kind of job, if true, they cannot sleep at night. That's why you can see a lot of people got big houses. I don't think they can sleep at night. Right? They can't sleep at night. Being a government officer, people can calculate how much you get money. Right? After you pension at the age of 60, you can calculate the most you get how much, 300,000-400,000. We can see your house, unless you get married to a wife who is very rich. That is a different story. Correct? But most of us are not so rich. But if you living in big houses, living beyond me, got so many expensive cars, big house, instead of people passing by, they're facing you, but they curse you, see? Thousands of people keep cursing you. So, do you want to live this kind of situation? That's why Eric Shah, that's why I like to highlight this case. Eric Shah, such a rich, a Tan Sri, who was a well-known, he swindled, whatever, they lost about 3 billion of the Pawaja money, but he was charged only 760 million ringgit by MBCC. But he won the case. At the end of the day, when he won the case, a reporter asked him, Tan Sri, you should be happy. You know what was his answer? What do you mean by happy? He said, number one, I lost all my friends. He said last time when he got power, he put his friend, there were 200 friends put on his hand. He said when he was arrested, he put hand, there were no hand. Correct. He lost his children, his wife ran away. So these are the implications. That's why I would like to remind the Gen Y. Right? I think our generation already finished. Okay, but you Gen Y, if you follow our footsteps, you are finished. Meaning to say that my own grandson, I don't think you can take care of them. Okay? Meaning to say, if you Gen Y, even though you are public, one day or you become government officer or you become politician, make sure don't get involved in corruption. But if yourself get involved in corruption, therefore I think we will be back to square one. Correct? Because do you know that it is called social bond? Right? Today myself and Cynthia is talking about corruption, but tomorrow I don't know that I may be worse than Prime Minister. Correct? This is called social bond. I can break my social bond because of the wealth, money and women. That's why we always pray to God that I hope everything is okay to me, but I can break the law. Normally when they give you position, they give you a position to become minister. You will change. If you become prime minister, maybe you are worse than the prime minister. Who knows? Correct? We don't know. Because you have been pampered, you have been praised by everybody. You know, you have been pressured by your wife. You maybe become worse than him. Meaning to say, being Gen Y, this is the hope, you know, from you. We hope that you do not get involved in corruption. If you are public, don't get involved, don't give. You must tell the government servant that you are public servant. Your job is to serve me. This is what happened in Western country. They dare to challenge the government officer, but here, you know, right? Because they will scold you, but you have the right to tell them that this you have been paid, you know, through our income tax. So this is very important. But again, right, Buddha used to say, there are only 3 things you cannot hide. One is the sun, number 2 the moon, the other one the truth. So as Mark Twain said, clever, squirrel jump, one day 4 grams. Okay? Clever, squirrel jump, one day 4 grams. Thank you. Okay?
On the same question.
Just to add, I do agree that the problem is enforcement. The problem is there isn't a high degree of integrity among our enforcement. So whether it's the police or whether it's the local authority enforcement, the enforcement of the law is always a problem. But in this current situation, I want to return to the topic of kleptocracy. It's not normal corruption. It's not everyday corruption that you pay a bribe to a policeman and all that and you try to get away with it. That's the culture that is pervasive. That's the culture that's prevalent currently in Malaysia. You'd rather pay a bribe than to go and pay the summons of 300 ringgit. But it's very difficult to change that if the leaders at the top continue to siphon away big amounts of money. So everyone will ask, why should I be the one to be full of integrity when everyone else is cheating? My leaders are cheating, stealing money from public coffers and so on. So the Chinese say, the fish rots from the head. Now, so it's very true that the leaders must provide that good example. And there must be enough check and balance in society to make sure that if the leaders don't perform, they have to go. And there's no crisis about it. There's no collapse in government. There's no nothing that we need to be afraid of. If you cannot fulfill your election pledges, then you have to make way for someone else. Someone else from your own party or some other political process will need to be determined by us, by you and me, people like you and me. So that is one thing. But when I want to return to kleptocracy because it's a very strange, very peculiar kind of problem that is brought to burden the country when so much money is stolen. It's not just about enforcement, but it's about the people in power trying to remain in power. When they try to remain in power, then they try to fix new laws or old laws that will make sure that they will remain in power. Now I'll give you an example of, I'm sure you know the National Security Council Act. It's so controversial, but it was passed in Parliament within 48 hours. This for me is not a good law. So this is how Dato Akhbar said we have very good laws. I think most of our laws are good, but some laws are really bad. Now the whole way in which it was passed, it was brought to the table of MPs 48 hours, it was rushed through Parliament. Within 48 hours, the Dewan Rakyat passed it. And it's a numbers game in the Dewan Rakyat. The whip tells you, okay, you have to vote like this, so everybody vote like that. So, Dewan Negara also passed it. And we know we have problems with our Senate because it's not elected, it's appointed, it's another institution that is not independent. It's not just the MECC, it's our entire parliamentary system and all that. So you get an act like that. And then it got gazetted in an even more controversial way. It didn't receive the royal assent that normally bills have to pass through in order to become an act, in order for it to be enforced. So this one special status. It just went past without royal assent because the Council of Rulers had actually asked for a few amendments to be made. Yes, Celine, you have a question? No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying is just one example that when corrupted leaders need to stay in power because they cannot afford to step aside. When they step aside, they lose their immunity as leaders. They may be subject to investigations across borders and so on. Then you find that bad laws actually get enacted. And much of this are in serious question mark about international rule of law. Does it abide by all these standards of a democratic process? Now, any place can be declared a security zone if the National Security Council decides that they want to invoke the act, and then they can actually bring out the military, use guns to bring things under control and all that. And hello, this is Malaysia. We've never had a situation that we actually have to do this. And it's all, the emergency situations have always been left to a separate agency, which is the monarchy. Anyway, that's another issue to discuss. But the point here really is that when we have a situation of such high degrees of corruption, normally it's also a case where it becomes more and more difficult to apply the rule of law in a way that is fair and in a way that can actually still promote and protect public interest. And this is where the real danger is. And I think this is where it is impossible not to play our part, because the way in which things are going is very, very well, difficult, and it's very, it's leading towards becoming dangerous. And this is where I think we need to be able to step up and say, laws like the NSC, what is it actually for? Who is it protecting? Why are we giving additional powers to a situation when there's already so much power concentrated in the hands of the executive? So I think we are in a situation where, yes, enforcement is a big issue, but we're also having new challenges to the rule of law. And at the heart of it is kleptocracy. At the heart of it is a situation where we cannot have our leaders be accountable to us.
Can I add more? You know, I see that the government is concentrating on primary school and going to introduce integrity, whatever, civic. But you see, you must remember, like Western country, Japan, they concentrate more on kindergarten. You see, because you have to remember, you wrongly enroll this group, 5 years old, 7 years old, you will finish. Because primary school, I say, is no point, because by that time, you know, it's very difficult to move. Because in Japan, you can see, right, every time when they, after school, right, after their meal, they make sure that they roll the paper that's given, you know, some, what you call, biscuit, whatever, put inside the bucket. That has been learned. And they have been taught, you see, not to throw rubbish, not to take people's thing, and explain, not to take people's thing means stealing. Not to respect people and so on. You see. And also in Sweden, you'll be surprised that the person who come earliest to the office will park the car furthest. What is in their mind? To make sure that their colleague come late, have time to punch the car. You see, they have this kind of mentality. I give an example. When I was small, my dad asked me to go to school. Akhbar, you go to school, you go to English school. Of course, I'm from Kelantan, not so good English school. But make sure one day you become district officer. You see, district officer is a big, what do you call it? Every parent want that, right? To be district officer. But my father never tell me that. Akhbar, you go to school, learn as far as possible, be a good person. Be an integrity officer. Once you qualify from university, then you become a good district officer. You know why? Because we are materialistic. Until now, like we are forcing our children to go to school and become doctor. But we never tell our children to go to school and learn all the good values. Then only you can become a good officer. Right? We are materialistic. Something is wrong with the system. Something is wrong with the system. And the worst part is politicized. right? Politicized. Every school, every education, every new module, new policy, all are being intervened by politicians. This is bad. Talking about contract. That's why I did some. I think I suggested yesterday that we have to come up with an oversight committee. Meaning to say, of course, a government, before they award contract, there will be two jawatankuasa. One is jawatankuasa kewangan, right? The other one jawatankuasa technical. But these two jawatankuasa will recommend the most eligible contract, and the board will make a decision. But right? Look at Malaysia, see everybody is involved. They misuse the power. But what they do in UK and also many parts of European countries, they have oversight committee. Oversight committee, totally different from these people. They are consisting of all professional people with high standing, people with integrity, and therefore they will make sure that this committee will not be more than 3 years. There's a study by Association of Certified Frauds also. You cannot put somebody in high risk position more than 3 years because you get influence. You have to remember, fraudster, person who are involved in corruption are different with person who are involved in hardcore criminal because they are smart people. They have education. They know the law. They know your weakness. They will study what you are weak. You want girls, they give girls. Correct. You want money, they give money. They want position, they give position. You want Dato, we can give, buy one, free one. Correct. They can do that to you. You have to remember, this is very important because, we cannot talk big. Right? We can't say that we will not get involved unless we have to pay. As what our friend just now in the last session was saying. This is called metaphysics, correct? Metaphysics means as long as you know that somebody is watching, God is watching you, therefore nothing, everything will be okay. But if you are thinking more on physics, you live beyond me because you want money, you got involved in corruption, you are finished. You are finished. Okay? This is very important. Therefore, we have to be careful. We are hoping for January to make sure that you don't follow our footsteps because I think we already rotten. I'm sure it's very difficult to repair. You have to start from small. But your kid, when you train your kid, even in kindergarten, as I said, you must show good example. If they go to school, they go to kindergarten, they learn all good values, but you don't show good example, you are finished. Right? I give you a good example here. I used to gossip with my wife inside the car. So my small kid always keep on grumbling. Dad, why you keep on gossiping? But do you know that now, when I'm with them, they drive a car, they are worse than me. Crime is learned. Remember, we have to learn, right? Learning. Okay? So we have to be careful. And the other one that I would like to highlight here is that I also would like to suggest, right, the Auditor General's office. They should come up with a special task force. You know what? You know, right? Our audit, right? You only audit, carry out your audit work at the end of the year. After that, everything already hancur, right? So what they have in US, they have a task force. This task force is given a special power for a big, huge amount of a big contract. If you smell the red flag, therefore you can intercept. No one you can stop the contract. After stopping, you got two choices. Either ask them to rectify the weaknesses. Number two, you can sack them and of course go for a new contract. This kind of thing is very important rather than you wait. Because in US, in UK, they can do, right? They give special power to the Auditor General office to carry out spot check, especially red flag. Red flag, right? Red flags that you can spend, right? Or big, a project which got some problem, delay, but that can be discussed with your internal auditor, right? This is very important. And again, right, this is very important also when you become a boss. make sure that you supervise your own people, correct? You must know what is a red flag, right? It's very easy to determine whether your officer are involved in corruption. There are red flags. Number one, living beyond me, right? Always go home late. You know what? Because at this IT, the best time to steal information is after 4, where the person is not there. And information is very valuable. Costs millions. Formula information, right? Those who are too close to the client, right? Those who don't want to, those who do not take vacation, because once you take vacation, everything will be leaked. Everybody knows. Those who don't want promotion, you know why? Because the place that I am holding now, in procurement, I can make more money than promotion. It is a gold mine, right? No transfer. So these are some red flags that you can get. Of course, this should be, this kind of knowledge should be the politicians should have, right? They must know, but they are busy politicking. Right? The problem in Malaysia is we are busy politicking. And the other point that I would like to highlight here, that most of our lecturers, they are more interested in conducting research in politics. You know why? Because of course you become glamour and people you are well very fast. But people forget that by conducting research in social problem, in social discipline, is much more better. Because what happened to Malaysia right now because of social problem? Correct. Social problem. What are the three main problems in Malaysia? Drug, human trafficking, and gun smuggling. Correct. 10 years ago, you have to hire somebody from Golok and Paramsa to come and shoot somebody here. But now, no, we have enough, contract dealer. We have enough guns, we have enough weapons. You know why? Because of the border. Because SB used to come out, they came out in the statement saying that the law enforcement agency in the border, 80% of them are corrupted, or were corrupted. Last year, it came out in the. So if we have this kind of mentality, this kind of a problem, and also what I'm saying to you is true. We are facing an integrity crisis. Okay?
So, guys, maybe you can also wrap up the sessions.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
On the MACC, with the change in leadership there, how independent is the MACC now? Previously, they did quite a decent job in trying to bring people to task, but the MACC today, how independent are they? And the second question, which I talked to you earlier, Cynthia, the Malaysia, I don't see people like being very upset about this whole 1MDB 2.6 billion issues, the turnout above say is not as big as it was in, let's say, 1 and 2 and 3. I don't see much of it in the papers. That can be explained. But even in Malaysia KDNO, I don't see much protest. Basically, people are tired, I think. But I would like to hear your views. We have a huge crisis here. Really, our integrity has been shredded to pieces, but we are not. I was in Maidan last month, and the tour guide is talking about 2.6 billion, and my Prime Minister. I said, your Prime Minister did this, But we are not saying anything. We meaning, I don't include you all, meaning the ordinary Malaysians are not saying anything. Why is that so, or am I just dreaming this up?
Yeah.
Okay. I think two questions. I think one is on the MECC. The old Chief Commissioner, Tan Sri Abdul Kasim, voluntary retirement was all very much in question. Was it really voluntary? Why leave at this point? But he's left, and now we have the new Chief Commissioner, who is from the Attorney General's chambers. So we also, like many other Malaysians, were very unsure about what this would mean for the MECC. But we've seen that he's taken on a few high-profile investigations. He's cracked down on a couple of corruption scandals from DBKL, now the Sabah Water Board, and so on and so on. So as an anti-graft civil society group, we are actually encouraged by this, and we beg consistency in this kind of cracking down on corruption scandals, because the MECC has a long way to go before it actually finds real public confidence and public trust. There's a lot more that needs to be done. So it is on the right track. But as Dato Akhbar said just now, the real problems of prosecuting still lies with another agency, with the Attorney General's chambers. So the important thing is for MECC to be consistent about everything that it carries out. And one of the things we have always recommended is a higher degree of disclosure. That after you investigate, you actually have to tell the public that you have completed your investigation, you have sent your recommendations to the AG chambers. So people know that they have done their job. And that's the way to win public trust and so on. So they seem to be moving a little bit there, but it's a long way more to go before we can even determine if it's independent. And it will never be fully independent unless their funding is not tied to the executive, and that the appointment of commissioners is also independent. So you don't just put in someone from the civil service who cannot stand up on his own and so on. So there must be a combination of professional, civil society, former civil servants and all that. So we've actually put up a lot of recommendations already to Paul Lau's office, but it's not moving anywhere, and we know that in this political climate it's not going to move anywhere. Now the other question about Malaysia, where sometimes when I go everywhere, so people keep asking me, what's wrong with Malaysians? Why are they still keeping a prime minister that took so much money from us, and why is he still there? They can never understand that. But for me, I don't blame the people at all. I think it is a situation where the politics has become so confusing that it's a very confused time for Malaysians. And Malaysian, our political maturity is still at a level where we haven't gone past yet a two-party system, where we can actually have competition between parties to really win people's vote. So people tend to, those who want change rely on the opposition. Those who resist change rely on the ruling party. So when the opposition is in a total disarray, paralyzed by their own fighting, people also tend to withdraw. It's like, I got no time for all this, let me just cari makan, handle my bread and butter issues, rising cost of living and so on. And this whole situation becomes very like a situation of despair. There's no hope. Even though hope is lurking in the shadows, I still think it's there. There needs to be some coordinated movement for the change process. So it actually comes back to how the young people in colleges, in schools can actually help build that wave of resistance as well, like in many other countries. So I think I remain hopeful because I've seen that period between 2008 and 2013. People were taking out money from their savings to give political parties to help win their constituency election. There was so much hope all around that there could be change and all that. But all that's lost now because they have let us down. The politicians have let us down. Both sides have let us down. So I would not blame the people at all that we are not acting. I just think that we have been totally, completely betrayed by the people in power and the people who want to be in power.
Can I just follow up? Oh, sorry, Dato, please. Huh?
Very short.
You know, talking about MECC, right? Of course, the MECC is like that, right? Whoever is there, but since you are not independent, therefore you'll be the same, right? Because the most important is AG, right? He's the person who makes the decision whether to charge or not to charge. MECC can only arrest you, right? He can arrest Prime Minister, but he cannot charge Prime Minister. But Prime Minister can only be charged by the AG. But today, if the AG came out with a consent to charge Prime Minister before he charged, he will be sacked, correct? So this is the issue, quite a big problem. Anyway, whatever it is, right? Even though they are lack of integrity, but we cannot give up, right? We take this opportunity because of the lack of integrity to work together to fight against corruption. We have WhatsApp group. We go through WhatsApp group. I have column. She also have been writing. So you as public, you have to come out, especially during your election. You must be very careful, right? Because this is very important. Make sure they choose the right person. It's not necessarily the opposition is not corrupted, no. Also corrupted. Because you have to remember, some opposition are from the same species. Correct? The same species. That's why I'm so scared. It's just actually there is no such thing as integrity. It is only the level of integrity. Because some police officer take $50, some senior officer take 100,000, 200,000. It's a level of integrity. Some politician took 400,000, some took 400 million. It's a level of integrity. No such thing as integrity. You langgar traffic light malam, you have no integrity already. Correct. There is no such thing as integrity. It's a level of integrity. Therefore we pray to God, right? Metaphysics. Pray to God that we are hoping that we don't fall into this trap. Thank you very much.
So, guys, maybe just 1 minute for wrap up, and then for these sessions.
I think I've said a lot and what needs to be said. The only last message is that the hope lies with all of you. So this is a great forum to start thinking if you haven't already begun, and the hope lies with the future generation. So if you wish to get more connected, contact us. We can give you some exciting experiences. But long term, I think it's very important for the student movement to plan, to figure out how to build our momentum. So thank you for allowing us to think things through together as the first step.
Yeah, just a minute.
So wrap up. Thank you very much. Sorry for any inconvenient calls. Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Dato, Akhbar, and